Hey, Pastor Matt and the fine folks of Calvary Baptist up in Milford. My name is Pastor Chuck. I pastor the Valley Church down in Norwood. I'll take just a couple of minutes and share some thoughts with you in regards to how this COVID-19 pandemic has affected our church and sort of some things we've learned and that we're learning. Of course, churches all across the world are adjusting because none of us are really prepared to shut down the way that we shut down. Historically, we've shut down just a couple of times when weather was bad, but nothing obviously like this. I know that what you're experiencing, same thing that we're experiencing down here as a small church plant. But a couple things that we've sort of learned through this so far, and for me, I try to be as optimistic as I possibly can and try to discern what is God's Spirit doing in the midst of our church, sort of behind the scenes? What are we learning from this? What are the ways that we can glorify the Father now that's very unique to our situation? And here's sort of what we've discerned. Just a couple things here. First off, we're learning how thirsty people are for community. You almost take for granted the opportunity that we have to gather as a church until we cannot gather as a church together corporately. And we're hearing from people, everybody in our church is just thirsty to be with each other again, to worship together. I think it renews an appreciation for the actual gathering of the saints on Sunday, and I'm celebrating that. Also, it's allowing us for further emphasis on discipleship. We've got, for the first time in the history of our church and in the history of the church, nobody's doing anything. We've got 100% attention of our people. Youth sports are shut down. Extracurriculars are shut down. Extra jobs are shut down. Unfortunately, that also means people are losing their jobs. Schools are shut down. People are home. They're gathered at home. Social media presence is got to be at an all-time high. People are on their phones. They're in front of data that they're getting in form of video and messages, emails, phone calls. We have people's attention in a way that we've never had their attention before. And we're taking advantage of that. How can we love on you and disciple you and teach you to grow with you now that we've got your attention to be able to do that? And I think there's a ton of value in that. We're also realizing how many non-essential things our church does. We're wondering what our church has spent so much time and effort and money doing over the last 4.5 years as a church plant, and realizing what we actually miss and what we don't miss. What actually had an impact, what really didn't have an impact. And I think it's going to allow us to recalibrate once we return. Things are not going to be the same. There are things that we're going to realize we don't actually need to do that. We don't need to invest in that, spend time doing that. There are other things that we can redirect our focuses to. A few blessings also in disguise is our church building is empty. So there are things that we can do to better improve our church building, because we have now the availability to do things in our church building that we weren't able to do when we had so much traffic in and out. And so we're taking advantage of those opportunities as well. Another final thing that I'll share with you is we do digital gatherings every week. When you think of the life of the average church person, they go to church on Sunday morning. They get there a couple of minutes before service begins. They sit in the seat they're used to sitting in, around the people they're used to sitting around. And then at the conclusion of the church service, they sort of make their way out to their vehicle and they go home. There's not a lot of community being built on Sunday mornings, not in the normal church structure. But when we're sitting now in our living rooms on Zoom or Facebook Messenger or whatever it is that we're doing our video platforms on, and we've got 5 or 6 families gathered together and their families are all present on a video, our people are now getting to know each other in a way that they've never gotten to know each other before. We've got several stories and instances of that. Hey, so-and-so came to our church, and they've been coming to our church for 6 or 8 months, and I've actually never talked to them before. Now I talk to them every week, and I know their story. I know where they live. I know where they work. I know things about their family. Stuff that perhaps even over the last 6 weeks of if we were gathering, they wouldn't have gotten to learn from each other. And so there's been a really unique, I think, ability for our folks to get to know each other. One thing that we're instituting now is we're encouraging all of our church families to create a 5-minute video, and it's a biography video. Tell us about who you are, what your names are, what you do, what are your hobbies, just unique things about you. And they're submitting those to us at the church so that we can put in our private church Facebook group where only our church family is a part of. It gets our people in front of the rest of our people in a way that they're comfortable enough doing it, and we get to know each other a little bit. So when we actually gather again, everybody's going to be familiar with everybody. It's going to be a really nice communal aspect of it. So anyways, I know you're adjusting. I want to hear all of your ideas. God created, our God's a creative creator who created a creative creation. So he gives us freedom to use our creativity to do ministry, and I love that truth. And so I want to know how you're being creative and how you're reaching out to folks. So blessings.